Nobody was prepared for what happened in the 10th inning of that game. The score was tied. The tension in that stadium had been building for hours. And then in a single explosive moment, everything that had been simmering beneath the surface of this game erupted into one of the most dramatic and most talked about confrontations of the entire baseball season. Rushing and the Rockies' Carrig went at each other. A full brawl. Not a shoving match. Not a jawing session that gets broken up before anyone throws a punch. A genuine physical confrontation that cleared both benches and brought every player on both rosters onto that field simultaneously. And then the most extraordinary thing happened. Shohei Ohtani, the man who never inserts himself into controversy, the man who has spent his entire career maintaining a posture of calm and professional distance from exactly this kind of situation, intervened. The way he intervened shocked everyone who witnessed it. The Rockies organization condemned Rushing's behavior publicly and emphatically. But now Rushing has stepped forward and revealed the full story of what actually happened and why. And the truth changes everything about how this brawl needs to be understood and judged by the baseball world. What was your immediate reaction when you saw the brawl erupt between Rushing and Carrig in the 10th inning of that game, and then watched Ohtani step into the middle of it in the way that he did? The first thing that hits you is the context. A 10th inning brawl in a tied game is not just a physical altercation between two players. It is an event that carries the entire weight of everything that happened in the 9 innings before it. By the time you reach the 10th inning of a tight baseball game, both sides have been competing at maximum intensity for hours. Every close call from the umpires has been felt. Every brush-back pitch has been noted and catalogued. Every word exchanged between players during base path collisions and tag plays has been filed away as fuel for whatever eventually ignites. What Carrig said to Rushing was apparently the spark that turned all of that accumulated competitive tension into an open flame. And what followed was inevitable the moment those words left his mouth. Let's talk about Carrig specifically and what the reports are saying about the nature of the remarks he made that triggered Rushing's response. Because not all provocations are created equal in professional baseball. Players say things to each other on that field constantly. Trash talk is part of the game. Competitive banter is part of the game. The kind of comment that turns a normal moment of competitive friction into a full-scale physical confrontation is a different category of provocation entirely. What Carrig reportedly said to Rushing crossed a line that most players in professional baseball understand intuitively as a line that cannot be crossed without consequence. The specific nature of those remarks is something that Rushing himself has now addressed directly in revealing the full story. And the details of what was actually said in that moment explain in a way that no organizational statement or media report has fully captured why Rushing responded the way he did. From a teammate's perspective, what does it feel like inside a dugout when something like this erupts and you watch your teammate go from competitive intensity to physical confrontation in real time? This is the human dimension of the story that gets lost in the immediate focus on the brawl itself and the ejections and the official responses. Baseball players are a team. They spend more time together during a season than most people spend with their own families. They know each other's histories. They know each other's triggers. They know exactly what kind of remark crosses from competitive trash talk into personal insult in a way that demands a response. When Rushing went after Carrig, every player in that Dodgers dugout understood at some instinctive level that something serious had been said. Because the players who know Rushing best know that he does not respond to normal competitive provocation with that kind of physical intensity. Whatever Carrig said hit something genuinely personal. Now let's discuss Ohtani's intervention, because this is the part of the story that genuinely surprised everyone watching regardless of which team they were rooting for. Ohtani does not get involved in brawls. That is not an exaggeration. It is simply a factual statement about how he has conducted himself throughout his entire major league career. He has always maintained a composure and a professional distance from exactly these kinds of confrontations that sets him apart from virtually every other player in the sport. When Ohtani intervened in that brawl the way he did, it sent a message that went far beyond anything the physical confrontation itself could communicate. It told everyone in that stadium and everyone watching on television that whatever happened between Rushing and Carrig was serious enough to draw Shohei Ohtani out of his characteristic posture of professional detachment. And the specific way he intervened, the manner in which he inserted himself between the combatants, and the words he was seen saying in the footage that cameras captured, suggests that Ohtani's intervention was not simply about stopping the fight. It was about protecting his teammate, and communicating something very specific to the Rockies organization about where the Dodgers stand as a collective unit. What does Ohtani's decision to intervene tell us about the kind of leader he has become inside that Dodgers clubhouse, and about the relationship between him and Rushing specifically? This is where the story becomes most compelling. Ohtani and Rushing have had their documented tensions this season. The baseball world has been aware of friction between them. And yet when Rushing found himself in the middle of a physical confrontation triggered by what appears to have been a genuinely offensive personal remark from a Rockies player, Ohtani stepped in. Not to pull Rushing back from the confrontation in a way that suggested he disagreed with his teammate's response, but to stand beside him. To communicate through his physical presence that whatever Carrig said was not going to be tolerated by anyone in a Dodgers uniform. That kind of public statement of solidarity from Ohtani carries enormous significance given the documented history between these two players this season. The Rockies' public condemnation of Rushing's behavior is something that needs to be examined carefully in the context of what Rushing has now revealed. Organizations condemn rough play because that is what organizations are required to do publicly regardless of the circumstances that triggered it. The Rockies looked at the footage of the brawl and saw their player on the receiving end of physical aggression from a Dodgers player, and they issued a statement that reflected their organizational perspective on that physical aggression. What they did not address in that statement was what their own player said to provoke that response. Rushing's full story changes the framing of the Rockies' condemnation in a significant way. Because condemning the physical response to a verbal provocation without acknowledging the provocation itself tells only half of the truth about what happened in that 10th inning. From a competitive standpoint, what are the immediate consequences for both teams and both players involved in this confrontation as they move forward through the rest of the season? The baseball side of this situation is actually the simplest part to address. Ejections were handed down. Suspensions will likely follow after the league completes its review of the footage. Both Rushing and Carrig will have to navigate the administrative consequences of what happened on that field. But the more significant consequences are the ones that play out in the competitive atmosphere of future games between these two organizations this season. When something like this happens at this level of intensity, it does not get forgotten the next time these teams take the field against each other. Every player on both rosters will carry the memory of that 10th inning into every future at-bat, every future base path collision, and every future moment of competitive friction between these two teams. Rushing has now told the full story. He has explained what Carrig said. He has explained why he responded the way he did. And he has explained what it meant to him to look up in the middle of that confrontation and see Shohei Ohtani standing beside him. The baseball world now has the full picture of what happened in that 10th inning. And that full picture tells a story that is far more complicated and far more human than the simple narrative of a player losing his composure in a high-pressure moment. Carrig crossed the line. Rushing responded. Ohtani stood with his teammate. And the truth about all of it is now out in the open for everyone to judge.